Hello and welcome back to the Chronicles of the Purple Knight. This is episode 10 and we are sitting outside the rather grand structure that is the Kundarak Bank. Apologies it's taken so long to go from 9 to 10. I've been sort of plugging away through the Isle of Dread, maybe one or two quests a day. The biggest reason being it's the summertime here now, and there are more. I make my living doing bits of gardening for people and dog walking since I got made redundant from the job I had for a long time. So the summertime is the more busy period, so I'm not complaining. But I've not given up on this life and this build, and it's certainly not because it's not fun or not competitive. I think you'll have seen enough up to this point to know that it's doing pretty well. Plenty to tell you on the waffle side. So quests up to this point. Full Isle of Dread, obviously. This is quests since the last episode. Full Isle of Dread, which are mostly level 7. I think there's one level 8. The Tier of Dhakaan in Phiarlan, which is level 7. And the Spies in the House, level 8 in Deneath. And also Tharask Arena, which is the first part of this little chain in Kundarak. I'm proposing that we do the second part, which is right down there. That's the quest giver down there. Right. So level 10 spells. I didn't add anything of significance, so I don't see any sense in talking about that. Basically, I've, at least so far, I've not bothered with anything offensive on the spell side. It's been completely buffs. As you can see on here, we've got, well, there's a couple of spell-like abilities: improved mage armor and improved shield from the Eldritch Knight tree, and we've got jump and protection from evil. I'm not using blur at the moment because it's on our gloves. And also then the short-term buffs, which are quite costly in terms of mana, but they do a damn good job at keeping us alive. So we've got Death Aura, Displacement, Haste, and also Know the Angles for extra damage from the Harper tree. And Rage I'm using a bit less now because we're not strength based anymore. I'll go into all the enhancements and whatnot, remind you where we're at with that. The feat I took at level 10, yes, I'm still trying to read through my very messy notes, was Spell Focus Enchant. Not because it's going to help us now, but because hopefully we're going to have a DC high enough to make Mass Hold at least some use later on. That's my hope. I am a little bit wary though, because the first time I tried the Hold Monster spell, the kind of forerunner to that, the Mass Hold for a single target, it didn't work very well. It didn't work at all, did it? Let's face it. It was in the that Phiarlan quest, wasn't it? The Gwilyn's Stand. And every time I tried it, I think it was on Minotaurs. Maybe they have spell resistance or something, but it just wasn't working out for us. So, what else do we have? Yeah, one of you commented on this type of build and mentioned that you had gone a couple of levels in Rogue for all sorts of tasty stuff. The evasion, and there's a haste boost apparently in the assassin tree, I think. or if you don't have rogue, you could take the haste boost from Vistani, which is certainly something I'd considered. But I'm thinking I have enough short-term things to click on here without having to remember one more at the moment. But yes, that rogue splash does seem a very valid one for a build like this. I've tended to keep purple, well, in fact always I've kept him pure to sort of explore to the full extent the whatever it is we're going into, and this is going to be no exception. Another reason to keep him pure is my take on this build is definitely going to be not giving up on the spellcasting side, particularly the crowd control. I would like our mass hold to be effective when we get to the level to be able to do that, which is going to be end of heroics. And if not, I'm going to be a bit disappointed, because we've taken spell pen and we'll be taking spell focus enchant feats to try to help that be as good as it can be. Right. I understand there's a new epic destiny coming for artificers, so that could be interesting, especially as purple hasn't done an arty life. In fact, I have never done a pure arty. If I was going to do it with purple, I would probably do the caster, because in company with many people, I'm sure, I have done arty splash builds just to get the rune arm use and possibly a couple of extra ranged feats as well, depending on the build. I did plenty of splash artificer with various inquisitive builds on my main character, so I kind of reached saturation with all that. But the caster I would definitely try. Something else as well that got mentioned, apparently they're going to try to clamp down on folk running through dungeons, you know, just flying along and killing the bare minimum and creating dungeon alert. I think that the dungeon alert itself is an attempt to clamp down on that, obviously, and the reason they're trying to clamp down on it is that's a big cause of lag, with loads of opponents chasing whoever's doing that. So I think maybe in future the dungeon alert or whatever they put in place to stop that might be more severe than it is now. They're trying to get people to play more methodically, shall we say, rather than sort of invis to wherever the end of the quest is and just kill the boss. Summer sales, I thought I'd give them a mention. I have treated purple to a couple of tomes because they were on sale. I think the universal thing and the universal point and the racial point just helped him out a little bit. I would never recommend such things to people who are just starting out. Save your DDO points for, you know, unlocking content first if you don't have all the content, you know, expansions and that. Quite a few of the expansions can be bought with DDO points now. That's way more important than any tome. I've just got them for purple because I kind of feel like he's earned them. I have the content anyway, and he's the one who's been doing the runs around to earn these points. So I thought I'd show him a little love. But yes, I used those summer sales in the past to unlock many a class, most of which are now free to use anyway, and plenty of races as well. So do have a look out. They tend to, in the last one of the sales, the week 4 in particular, there tend to be some tasty things. So keep an eye on that and see what they come up with this time. Let's have a look at the Reaper points. I've reorganised because level 10 you get the second tier come available. So I'm in all three because this is going to be a theme, as I've mentioned before, of the build. We're going to have to kind of stretch ourselves a bit thin across the different, the casting and the melee side if we want to be successful. That's if I want to keep the casting side valid, which I do, because I think that's going to be, well, it's going to help preserve our life, because things trapped and whatnot can't hit back and are easier to kill. In the case of mass hold, that's going to cause helplessness, so it's going to give us extra damage as well as less incoming damage. So we have a couple of DCs now in Reaper mode, which is nice, a bit more spell power, more intelligence. So that's another. So that's 3 DCs in all. 1, 2, and then those 2 equate to 3. Spell pen, actually, we don't strictly need. I could have left that off, at least for now, but it'll come in later on. Mass hold has a spell pen check. In fact, that hold does as well, doesn't it? Yes. So if I ever want to do the hold monster. Here we've just got the Reaper Strike for a nice bonus to double strike when the going gets tough, if I remember to press it. That's another reason I didn't want the haste boost, because we have a melee power boost, we have a Reaper Strike, and then if I had a haste boost on top of that, I'd just be forever clicking buttons. There is quite a lot of short-term stuff on here, and I'm having to adapt to that because it's not something I'm used to really with the caster. The displacement, I suppose, is the shortest thing I'm normally used to for them. So we've got Reaper Strike, but we've also got a couple of extra hit and damage here, which isn't to be sniffed at. In this tree I've gone with the reflex saves, constitution, and the second core is giving a nice bonus to hit points and saves. Let's have a little look at the gear. Again, the wrong key. Some of it's unchanged. I really like these glasses that we've had on for a couple of levels now from the Temple of Evil. Super nice for our build. Double strike and deadly for extra damage. That helmet's probably going to stay on forever. That's a 2 bonus to spell DCs. Sapphire of Snow Peak speed for the maximum run speed is nice too. Profane Life Force is very good, extra hit points. And Insightful Intelligence, we're making perfect use of this, aren't we? Because that's our casting stat. The Amber Pendant you'll know all about from previous episodes, helping our defences with the sheltering and also the spell casting side with 3 more on the spell DCs. That's a new one. It's not amazing for the build. Spell sight isn't bad for a bonus on spell power. Insightful Corrosion is good because we're using the acid imbue. Radiance is completely irrelevant. Just to give you an idea spell powers wise, so acid is reasonable there for our acid imbue, and negative is pretty good as well. The reason negative is good is because I couldn't decide which belt to go for. In the end I've gone for the one helping the negative crit, because you'll recall for a long time we didn't have anything for negative crit chance, and these ticking death auras can crit, so to give that a nice boost we went for that. And that belt is also part of the 3-piece caster set, so that's kind of tied me into the going with the caster set, which is probably just as well, as I don't think I have a melee set for this level to give to him anyway. Cloak, we've swapped. Con 6 is nice. Raging Resilience, that would be quite nice. 4 bonus to Fortitude saves, but it doesn't work with this rage spell. I think it's got to be a proper rage, like a barbarian rage or a shifter rage, for that to work. I've tried it and it doesn't seem to activate. Dodge is nice though. We have what do we have dodge wise now? So that's giving us the only dodge we have, 6%. So arguably I could and maybe should have taken some more dodge in here. We won't be at all capped on dodge as we're in robes, so maybe that was a mistake. Favouring, I could have had 6 dodge instead of 6 reflex saves, or I could have taken some out. You see, it's rearing its head again. Melee offense versus caster offense versus defense. There's always going to be this trade-off for us, unless you've got mega Reaper points. Kept the Spinneret in for another spell focus mastery, plus some spell pen, which is nice, and quality potency, so a small boost to all spell powers. If we ever have to swap the imbue away from acid, it's not going to be great times, because cold, electric and fire are all over 100 less, but we'll do that if we come to something like a clay golem or an arcane ooze or something that gets healed by acid. Blurry gloves, the second part of the caster set. The blur is nice, or in this case lesser displacement, but the rest of it, for our build, not amazing. Although the Sapphire of Resistance is helping our saves there. The boots I've put in for the Seeker 5, so helping crit damage and critical hits. It's got a small mythic and a Reaper boost, so that's something. Also Intelligence 5 isn't bad for our build. What we got here? Radiance Law. So we've actually got Radiance spell power and Radiance Law, and both are utterly irrelevant to this build. If they were the dark side instead, that would be lovely. Sadly, no. But the sheltering is nice, and given the fact that we're in robes, that's not terrible, I don't think, for the level, for the defences, PRR, MRR. The stats are not horrible either. We have a decent con and intelligence, which is where we want the points to be. Saves are all in the mid-20s, which is good. And remember, we have insightful reflexes, so we are using our intelligence for our reflex save, which is probably why that's so high. It's going to be 6 higher in Reaper mode. Actually, there is a case for saying it's high enough anyway, isn't there? And yeah, let's go ahead, swap those reflex out and put them in dodge instead, because we're always going to be surrounded by opponents, aren't we? So we're going to have 12 dodge in Reaper mode, which isn't bad. It's another layer of defense. Okay, braces, parrying, that's extra bonus to saves, and spell saves, an extra bonus on top of our saves if the incoming thing is from spells. Sapphire of Heavy Fort, that goes with the fortification we get from being in Lich form to give us a whopping 205 fortification for the moment, which is more than adequate. And the robes, similar stuff to what's on the what was on the level 5 Feywild armour. Exceptional spell power and spell lore. And a shield bonus there, which is quite nice, and a little Reaper bonus too. And that's the 3 pieces of our caster set, which is giving us another spell DC, a bit more spell power. Not terrible. Oh, and increasing the MRR cap by 10. The MRR cap for robes is 50, isn't it, as far as I know? And we've ended up with 70. That's interesting. We must have something else that increases it by 10 as well. Anyway, no complaints. The weapon's still the same. I think that's about it for the gear. Now, what other stuff had I noted down here? Actually, I think that's pretty much it. Okay. So, I thought we could... I'm pretty sure we've never shown this one before. This is the second... Well, Von 2, it's referred to as. The second level 8 quest in the Vault of Night chain, called The Prisoner. I'm trying to manage again without the skeleton, by the way. I just don't like hirelings, pets, anything like that. I know it's probably a mistake, but because it does survive quite nicely, and it does detract attention from you and takes the passive healing from your aura. So there's no reason not to put it other than the fact I just don't like it hanging around. So this quest, for those of you not familiar with it, kind of takes place in four, well, you've got 4 artifacts to bring back to this central area. There are a couple of beholders in here, which is why I'm not really buffing up too much. Hopefully our undead form will mean that we don't get level drained by the things. It did take our buff away, but it didn't drain us any levels. I don't think we can be level drained as an undead, so that's good. So that's the first item. Second one is up this ladder. Now, do we have beholder up here as well? No, I don't think we do, so let's do some buffs. Now, it can't take away the know the angles, so that's good. Now, these are the expensive short-term ones. In the epic version of this, you have to find 3 runes in here to be able to progress further. But the heroic one doesn't have that, so all you have to do is get yourself to this intersection here, this bridge, and make sure that you're going down to the south and then to the left. Follow the thing around. You get to this big corridor and you just want to go straight up there, and that's the way out. Shall we fight him? We'll fight him. Colour spray, go. Now it says the pets won't be causing any more trouble, but there is a second wave that comes if you hang around long enough. So we'll just open the chest. Oh, we could have used a knock spell there. I'm going to use a DDO to get us back to the starting area, but you could just as easily retrace, or if you get completely lost you can just fall off an edge somewhere. You respawn in a sort of a holding area. You have to beat one opponent, and once you've done that you get back to the starting area. Being too ambitious in here and going for too many at once tends to get you thrown off into the ether, as the game says. Now there is a beholder here, but you can avoid it by sneaking down this side. The beholder normally appears there if you come straight at it from the normal direction, but if you bob down here you don't get it. I think we saw there, those hounds are immune to acid damage, so I should have switched the imbue before engaging them. Now we've got some arcane ooze, so let's try switching the imbue. Actually no, I'm going to show you the way around. Make sure you have feather fall on. So let's say we can't kill them for any reason. You can just bob round here. You need a decent jump, and up here, and we've just bypassed that fight rather nicely. The only trouble here is actually seeing what's going on. You need to stand on the X on this pillar to make sure you don't get hit by the air jets. You see I'm standing on the X there. That's another one, and we'll go back and do the last one. The last one is down there. Now this as well is a beholder, so I'm going to lose all my buffs again here, I guess. Unless we try and we could try and hold him. No, it didn't work. Oh, hello, Mr. Reaper. Okay, so yes, all the buffs are gone. So that's another, well, I should have known that anyway, aside to the undead. The immunity to the level drain is a big deal, so you don't need Death Ward at all in this form. And there are more than one quest in this chain. The Jungle of Khyber, which comes next, has a section which can be quite tough with multiple beholders. If you don't have immunity, you could have resistance to incoming spells. The best item for that is the Pale Lavender Ion Stone, which is well worth looking up in the wiki and trying to acquire for any character you're serious about. Done? Nope. Still no. I've got to kill them all, I think, for the ladder to drop. Oh, I tell you one thing I didn't show. I'll show it at the end of the quest. The enhancements, where we are at with those now. Because there have been some changes. Did we get him? Yeah. I mean, there's no need for me to, it's kind of overkill, me putting all the buffs on the displacement and the death aura and the haste and the know the angle, but you can see that we're effective both offensively and defensively doing so, but it does drain the mana, so that's another reason for not going into the offensive spellcasting side, because that's a serious drain on the mana. So you hand the 4 items over. And when you hand the 4th, the shadow comes to life. Focus only on the shadow. When you do this in Epic, there's all sorts of other stuff pops up. As soon as you kill the shadow, the other stuff all disappears. So just focus fire that. There is a chest round here, but it is trapped, so be wary. Or just stand there like I did. Okay, happy days. I think that went pretty well. So yeah, let's show you the enhancements. Of course, true to form, I have reorganised it a bit. Always looking for a double slotted item in the reward list. Right, enhancements. Oh, we've got 2 points now, so I'll put, I think I'm going to go for some hit point. I'm building back up in this Pale Master tree. Yeah, let's go for the hit points. We can get up to 30 extra hit points there. So I've got 13. We're being helped a little bit by the new racial and universal points that he got, and that kind of pushed me to look more at in particular the racial, the human tree. So in the human tree, we've got this boost to melee power, which I no doubt keep forgetting to click. And that quest we've just done, I really underused the melee boost and the Reaper's Strike. Must make more of those because they are decent. We've got a bonus to intelligence, which is our hit and damage as well as our casting stat, so that's great. An extra bonus to intelligence when the action boost melee is going. So, oh sorry, when any action boost is going, so that's nice. And the main one I wanted, which I think I mentioned earlier in the live, we've got 20 strike through now from this tree as well, and this build is a strike through build with the big two-handed weapon. Strike through meaning we can hit more than one target. So if we look here now, we'll see we're on strike through 100, which means that we always hit 2 targets in front of us if we are able to do so. If there's only one in front, obviously you can only hit 1. So that's the human tree. This one is still the same as it was. We've got the intelligence to hit and damage, the know the angles, which is giving half of our intelligence modifier. So in Reaper that's going to be 14, so 7 bonus damage while that's going, which is nice. Also an extra 1 to hit and damage from that enhancement bonus. And if the creature is evil, +2 to hit and damage extra. So that's nice too. The Eldritch Knight is exactly the same as it was, I think, with 11 points just for this. Actually, I could have removed some from there because this third core is no longer needed, is it? The arcane spell failure. Shall we have a quick reorganisation there? All we need at the moment there is the spell sword, isn't it, really? And what comes there? Yeah, I think for the moment we could definitely have a reset there and do some more in this tree, which is going to be more beneficial to us. So we'll make sure we get the spell sword. We need the shield thing, don't we? Or do we have a shield spell, don't we? No? Oh, we could have. Yeah. We're going to use the shield spell, so we don't need that or that. What's that giving? That's giving bonus to universal spell power. We want that definitely, don't we? And some hit points. And just that then. The imbue. Okay. So that's giving us 5 extra to spend in here. Definitely want the melee thing here. That's giving us our negative damage to targets, extra spell pen, and level drain as well, which goes nicely with what the Black Razor is doing, because I think that's level draining too. Intelligence is even anyway, isn't it? So we don't need any more intelligence. What do we think? Between healing amp and I think an extra crit chance for the neg spells would be good, and we'll take 20 neg heal amp as well. I think that's rock and roll now for the negative side of things. Okay, and I must remember to go in the tavern and get us the shield spell, because that's very important against magic missiles. Right, I think that's pretty much it. I thought this time maybe I don't tend to run the Slave Lord chain, but I thought maybe I would have a go at it this time, because I'm not going to be doing the Deneth chain. We're already too high level really to get the best out of that. So maybe I'll have a go in the Slave Lords and report back. I deliberately didn't do it for the quest, because I thought, oh, if we get 20 minutes into the quest and then something horrible happens, it's going to be a mess and I'm going to lose all my speech. So that was the reasoning behind that, but I may give it a go and let you know how things go. Otherwise, thank you very much for looking as always, and I will speak to you soon. Take care.